Hey, how's it going? If you haven't seen the previous video, you should probably check that out first for more context, so this makes a little more sense. But a little background is I'm Gavin, aka Peck underscore inspector on social platforms, Instagram, Blue Sky, and others. I'm 31, and about 3.5 months ago, I got a inflatable penile implant surgery, or a penile prosthesis, or a coloplast titan. That's the model name. All the same thing. And it's January 15th, 2025 now, and I got it done on September 25th, 2024. And so about 3.5 months ago, I'm gonna assume you're a little bit familiar with the whole process and what it is if you've seen the previous video. But if you haven't seen that, basically the gist is that I had moderate to severe, pretty severe towards the end, erectile dysfunction since age 16 on. That was sometimes worse, sometimes better. And basically it got to the point where the erectile dysfunction got so bad, even with Trimix, which is injectable shots, that I had to get a more long-term solution, and that was the surgery. So I went to Texas, got the surgery, and wanted to, the clearance time for the surgery, like when you're cleared for all activity, is 6 weeks. So you can lift again. I was completely out the gym. You can have sex again, but I wanted to wait even longer just to make sure that there were no bumps in the road and I could give like a pretty confident review. So 3.5 months is well outside that window. And as you can probably see by the title, for me, and this is all for me in my experience, it was a massive success. So I would definitely do it again and again. And it was expensive, but I'd definitely do it again and pay more. So it basically cured me overnight, and my quality of life increased pretty drastically once those 5 or 6 weeks were up, and it basically gets better every day. And even in the last 2 weeks has been sexually the best it's ever been. So if you see me looking up here, I just wrote a script, so it's not rambling or anything, so forgive that for me. But like I said, this depends for each person, but my recovery was pretty uneventful, I'd say. There was just mainly discomfort, not much pain. There were some nagging symptoms, like some burning in my urethra with all the stretching going on, and over time that went away. And post-orgasm, by the way, if you're squeamish, please click off this video. This is for adults, and we'll be discussing specific adult content. And this also doesn't constitute medical advice, by the way, I should say. So you should always seek a doctor's help for problems like this, but this is just my experience, so I wanted to share. But yeah, after 6 weeks, I basically only had mild discomfort, some burning pain, but that went away. And after 3.5 months, there's basically no downsides for me. Just all relief, everything's functioning well. I've gotten a lot of use out of it so far, and I've been able to do things I didn't think I could before, and now I am pretty happy. So basically, to get to the actual mechanical specific details, with the implant, I can now get a 100% erection on command. Usually that takes about 10 seconds only, 10 or 15 seconds of pumping the pump that's in my scrotum. It's quiet, it's discreet. If I want to hide it, I can. If you really want to look for it and feel it, you can. The erection lasts as long as I want. Even after finishing, I stay hard, and people do with the implant. And there's no worries about being hard too long, since the inner chambers of the penis, the tubes, have been removed and there's no blood flowing in, it's fluid instead. You can't get priapism for being too hard, so you can stay hard as long as you want. I don't have to take Viagra or Cialis, or thank God Trimix anymore. I don't have to plan around all the things that you have to plan around if you have ED. If you know, you know. like fatigue or caffeine or previous sexual activity or how you're feeling or just like tons of things like supplements you think are causing things or improving things. There's no question that you can perform or not. You can just perform on command whenever you want, assuming you mentally want to. um, my sex drive was never a problem throughout the entire my adult sexual life. So finally, there's an alignment between my sexual desire and libido and my ability to actually use that with an erection, which is pretty great because I had a healthy sex drive, and not being able to act on that as I wanted was pretty rough. But well, we're better now. Um, I went from having, like, even with Trimix, which, Trimix is like the nuclear option. A needle in your penis is pretty, you're not going to do that unless you need it or and you're desperate. I went from Trimix starting to fail, even with a high dose, to, which basically gave me almost no confidence to like penetrate someone, no confidence for certain positions, little confidence for even receiving oral sex sometimes, because that takes some brain power. Again, if you know, you know, men. Uh, and I just, even by myself, wasn't confident in it, wasn't getting morning erections, wasn't getting anything like that, to basically being 100% confident no matter what in my abilities, which is basically game changing, life changing. Um, the surgery, you could call this a downside, but to me, it isn't. But the surgery does remove the apparatus that gives you regular erections. Like, regular blood can't flow in when you're aroused, but like, you could see that as a downside. But in reality, if you needed the surgery in the first place, you probably weren't getting those natural erections, so you can't miss what you didn't have. So that does not bother me. I have found that partners are way, way, way more excited that you're guaranteed hard than sometimes you get really aroused and they can see it. Like, I think the actual being able to perform is a lot better, and it's so cool and exciting anyway that it doesn't really bother anyone. So I don't miss that. It's safe to say that I've tested things out enough at this point. It really makes sex more enjoyable when you know that you're not going to have a problem on your end. And like, if you're confident in your skills, which I even was before, just not confident in my body cooperating, then it's a lot better. Um, if we're being specific, because I don't mind being specific, I already told the viewers who were squeamish to leave. Certain positions, like, I never was confident being ridden. Like, that was, you lose 10% hardness and it's a disaster. You know what I mean? I was never confident with that. Can do it fine now. I could never completely relax when I was receiving oral, just because the anxiety just, in my opinion, the anxiety did not cause the problem, but the problem did cause me anxiety. You know what I mean? So being able to completely relax during sex, being able to switch positions and not have a death grip and like constantly needing to stimulate in order to not lose your erection, that's pretty nice. Doing multiple positions. A big one is not rushing sexual encounters. I don't know about other people with ED, but mentally sometimes there's like a timer where you're like, okay, I have about T minus 17 minutes before I'm going to run out of juice, and then we're going to have a problem. So we better hurry this up. Now I'm like, don't have to rush. Could be fast if I want. Could be hours if I want. Usually it's not hours. But if I wanted it to be, it could, which is a really cool feeling. Like before, many times when I lost the erection too, it would go away, and there was no chance of reviving it, which, again, if you've ever experienced that, if you've ever begged your own penis to wake up, it's not a good feeling. So luckily, we don't have to deal with that anymore, and we're feeling a lot more sexually confident. Um, Mechanically, actually using the implant is really, really easy and painless and discreet if you need it to be. Like I said, it's just in your scrotum, there's just a hard circular pump that you pump with your fingers, and there's a valve right on top of it that you deflate. So pumping isn't painful, deflating isn't painful. Deflating is hard towards the beginning, but when you're 3 months out, it becomes normal. And right after surgery, there is a period of time, I think most people probably feel this, where you're like, I've made a horrible mistake. I attached an inanimate object to my body and removed a part of me. But I can say, luckily for me, that goes away fast and it becomes a normal part of your body, and it becomes part of you. And it's just a really nice feeling, and becomes comfortable and becomes usable daily. And it just kind of brings you back to a new normal, but a normal. Basically, if you wanna, the proof for me that it's discreet and that it works well and that it's an impressive surgery and something that I like is that I've had multiple encounters now where, like, originally, because I think it's cool and that's why I'm making this video, and I still think it's cool and I'm happy to share, I would put it on profiles and stuff, like dating apps, hookup apps, social media. I would say, hey, I got a penile implant. Here's how it works. Ask questions. And then I just gradually, as I was cleaning bios and stuff, took it off. And there have been multiple encounters where I've had full sexual experiences. People were getting intimately acquainted with my equipment. And they would say things like, after I was finished, like, wow, I can't believe you're still hard. I can't believe you were so hard the whole time. Or like, wow, I've never experienced someone who walked in the room hard. Or like, we could just chat and cuddle and you'd stay hard. And like, afterwards, me telling them that I have an implant, they're shocked, and no one thinks it's weird, really. Everyone thinks it's interesting. People want to touch it and pump it up, but like, functionally, unless you really, really are looking, really exploring, know where to look, like, are feeling things, it's hard to tell the difference for me between before and the now. And even if you're able to feel it, like feel the pump, it basically just feels like a firm testicle. Your other testicles are still intact, so it's like a third firm testicle, but it doesn't bulge out. It's not very like noticeable. It doesn't change the architecture that much. So I've had people exploring the scrotal area too, and I've had one person be like, oh, I just figured you had like a prosthetic testicle, just maybe you had an accident or cancer. And I was like, no, it's just a part of the implant. But that was the only one, and otherwise pretty discreet, which is cool. It's also safe to say that partners I've had enjoyed it. Maybe that's just my own skills, but I've had great reviews using things like you don't have to tell me that you can have great sexual experiences without being hard. Absolutely not, because I did that for 16 years, and sometimes I was perfectly fine, and other times I struggled, and I still maintained an all right sex life. But just like the confidence it gives you, and the ability to do so many things and not worry that it gives you, just makes sex so much better to me. And it really doesn't take away any of the excitement of the situation. It just adds everything. Sensation wise, things basically for me feel the same as before, which is to say, pretty good. Orgasms are also better, which I did not expect, and I never had an issue with that before. They were always great, and now they're really great. I didn't expect that, and maybe you shouldn't either, but I was happy to take it. I don't know if the mechanism is like increased stimulation from always being hard and more surface area of the nerves being exposed and stimulated, or less worry or anxiety, or if the pelvic floor mechanics are different now that I can be hard and the muscles can be stimulated and contracted differently. But either way, I'm pretty happy with that, and that was basically from the beginning and has continued on. And yeah, finishing is good. Um, a question that I get asked often, which can be a little irksome, just because it's the first thing people ask and it's kind of a loaded question, but I do kind of understand, is if I'm bigger now. And I think people who don't know about the surgery, which is a lot of people, which is why I make these videos, um, they kind of think that the purpose of it is for size or girth enhancement, because there are penile implant surgeries that add like prosthetics for girth, or they involve cutting for length. But this one is not a cosmetic surgery. It's a medically necessary surgery. It's for people with severe ED. And it doesn't make you, it's not to make you bigger. However, it's a complicated answer because if you think about it, if you never got a 100% erection before for years and years and years, and then suddenly after the surgery, you're able to get a 100% erection every time, you are bigger after the surgery. And the penis is an elastic tissue, and it has to be stretched to stay healthy. So nighttime erection stretch, daytime erection stretch it just over and over. So if you have ED and it doesn't get stretched, it does contract. So if you're artificially stretching it with an implant, it does stretch and it can grow. And there are studies that show that there's growth, not huge amounts, like centimeters, up to a year or two after. So it does, it can grow. It's just, other studies show that people who have the best experience, which a lot of people have great experiences with the implant, are those who go in with realistic expectations. And one of the unrealistic expectations is that you'll grow if you get the surgery. So if you're doing it for that, it's not for you. If you're doing it for ED that hasn't been treated well with other things, it is for you. So, but you talk to your doctor about that. Remember. So basically on my end, again, I'm sharing everything else I'm happy to share. I'm basically on like the slightly above average side in terms of length and girth, just slightly above average. And for me, the doctor, my surgeon especially, but surgeons who perform the surgery tell you not to measure too soon after, because surgical trauma, swelling, things looking different at first before they heal, and you might not like what you see. But like even 4 weeks after my surgery, I was pretty happy with my size. Like I had gotten back to, I hadn't had a full erection in so long, and it wasn't even like, what was I before? That's how bad it was. But I was pumped up because you cycle daily to get things constantly pumping and stretching. And I was very happy with how things were looking. And that continues today. There are often times now where I look down at him with great appreciation, and I'm really grateful for him. And I never used to do that before, but you know, when you don't have something for so long and suddenly you have a better relationship with a part of your body, sometimes you just gotta admire, you know, when other people aren't doing it for you. And our relationship, me and my penis, is definitely different. I always liked it, but there was definitely a strain in our relationship, some frustration. So, just quickly, one thing that people worry about in the surgery, and I won't cover this too much, but the head of the penis, I don't know why I'm whispering like it's gonna, the head of the penis, has a different blood supply as the shaft. So something to remember when you get the surgery is like the shaft can be 100% rigid, but if you're not aroused, the head will be smaller than it is when you're fully aroused. So I got the question recently, someone was like, well, how do you know if you are aroused? How do you know if you're horny? And I was like, well, just it's a mental thing. Like you can make your body cooperate anytime, which is an awesome feeling. So if you mentally are interested in sex, you can just have it mechanically. So when you get aroused, like not everything is purely mechanical down there. Like, your body still reacts and things change, and it's just kind of a cool way to know that blood is still flowing and you're still doing good, and it's kind of a visual indicator. So again, if you're measuring yourself too and you got the surgery, you gotta make sure you're aroused for that, and you'll get the full experience. Yeah, so I'll probably make a video a little later about the recovery process. Like I said, mine was pretty uneventful. There were some funny things that I had to deal with that I didn't expect, like when I was flying home. Well, I did expect this, but it was still funny. Flying home, there's a metal coil in the implant, so you always have metal now that will ding the x-ray at the airport. So that's cool. You get to show them your penile prosthesis and hand them a card. Or, when you first can't deflate after the surgery for like 2 weeks and you're just hard for 2 weeks, you find yourself thinking crazy things like, ironically, the thing I wish most in the world is that I could get soft. You have crazy thoughts like that, but once things calm down, you can deflate and inflate. It gets so much better. But yeah, all of this is different for others. The recovery, how they like it, how they experience it. But based on the studies I've seen, it's like the satisfaction rate for the surgery is really high, and I can understand why. Like, it changes your life so much. It cured my erectile dysfunction overnight, like a 100% cure, absolutely no worries about performance at all, an instant huge source of anxiety gone, an instant boost in confidence increased. It was a massive relief. I feel more myself. When I say this, I hope you cut me some slack and you'll know what I mean, but your manliness is not connected to your ability to get an erection. But being able to have control over your erections and not worry does make you feel more manly. And I have definitely felt more confident and more manly since getting the surgery. I would definitely do it again. I would recommend anyone who is struggling with erectile dysfunction, even mild, especially severe, but even mild, to talk to someone, especially a medical professional like your doctor. But, if you're struggling, even just talk to your friends, or just talk to anyone. Just get it out there. Partly why I make this video is that I want you to know legitimately, because it really sucks having an ED and feeling alone, that a lot of men experience it, and you really can do something about it. There are levels. There's the baseline, even Viagra. That's like the bottom level, so easy, something to try and fix. Then there's Trimix, the nuclear, and then there's the final resort, of the surgery. But, once you get there, if you need it, you need it, and I'd say it's worth it. So, yeah. The surgery was permanent. It was long-term. I didn't get it for cosmetic reasons, or I didn't get it because I had a little bit of ED and just needed to bump my performance up a little. It's really like a no going back sort of thing, but I have no regrets at all. Also, funny, a last thing to mention is, in case you're suffering with it too, I'm with you, or I was with you. I previously, before this too, I would occasionally, with certain activities like penetration, experience premature ejaculation, but I also started a medication for that, an SSRI, low dose, that's having me last the perfect amount of time, in my opinion, now. So life is pretty good. Just another example, I guess, of me saying that if you're struggling with something, there's probably something you can do about it. You don't have to be embarrassed. I wasn't gonna go through this surgery with ED and have premature ejaculation problems and just be like, it's just my body. I sought help one medication cured me basically. And yeah, I'm really happy, doing really well, and the reviews are really good too. Thanks for listening. Remember that, if you're struggling with stuff, you're not alone. And also, sometimes it takes a while to fix things. And I went through the process, like I said in the previous video, I went through this process. It started when I was like 18, where I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I got to the point where I could have gotten this surgery when I was 22, and because of money, I wasn't able to, and also I wanted to explore other avenues, but like, it took me a long, long time to get to this point, and I didn't give up, and there were a lot of times where I really, really wanted to give up and thought there was absolutely nothing I could do, and I just had to deal with it, and I would just never be a fully sexual man. And there were some dark times, but yeah, I persevered and paid for the surgery out of pocket myself, which felt good, and feeling pretty happy. So thanks for listening. I appreciate it.